All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to RBR Real Talk, where it's raw but real. Today we have a young lady by the name of Megan. Megan, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, Megan. Doing pretty good. All right, Megan. So, gosh, welcome to RBR first of all. And
Thank you.
yes. So what we're gonna do, Megan, is I really want to get into your story, but I'm gonna ask you a few quick questions before I get into it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And for you listeners, we've got Megan here, and today with Megan, we are talking about broken hearts and broken borders and broken hearts. So, Megan, how are you doing for real? Like with all this that's going on, how are you really doing?
I'm doing good. I've gotten everything out of my system. Sometimes I have my days. I have my days, and I have my days because I want to go back, and then I have my days where other things are just still unfolding. So I'm like, I'm hot and cold basically.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. When you say go back, explain that. Go back where?
I, when I say go back, as if maybe giving another chance
Mm-hmm.
or trying to see if things could work.
Wow. Wow. See, I have the inside to your story, and of course the listeners
Yes.
don't. So that is like a wow to me. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But as women, and especially women of God, and I've
Mm-hmm.
spoken to you, and I know that to be your story. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
do, right? We
Yes.
forgive and we give chance after chance after chance. Sometimes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
deserving, sometimes not so.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, okay, that was a lot to hear you say that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that, but that was a shocker for me. Okay, all right. So, how do you feel about what has happened to you, like it happening to you? We often say it couldn't happen to us, but
Right.
this whole thing happened to you. And for the listeners, her story is it's about heartbreak, it's about betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
It happened, of course, on an international thing, meaning that she's here on U.S. soil, and her now divorced ex-husband, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
is on international soil. So navigating through that whole love and foreign country thing, again, how do you feel about this happening to you?
Like when it first happened, I just felt like I was in the twilight zone. I'm like, am I dreaming? Like somebody pinched me because we was not very long at all. So I was like, what is? I just felt like I was in a sunken place.
Uh huh.
That's how I felt.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. It's kind of gut wrenching.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So where are you from, Megan?
I am from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And I want the listeners to know that we definitely have done some name changing and things like that because we're not about trying to bring shame to anyone else or anything like that. This is simply a
Mhm.
platform where I allow people to tell their story.
Mhm.
And so that's the reason why we're doing an audio taping, and we don't
Mhm.
want to use names because we want to make sure we protect people, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. So, Megan, I want you to tell the listeners your story, and I want you to take your time. It is a very detailed story, and it's definitely a story that I want you to put all the pieces in there because I've got some questions that I want to ask you, and I want the listeners to get an idea of exactly how you guys met, where you met, the time frame at that meeting, the time frame at the wedding, and all of those things. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So go
All
ahead.
right. So we met through a mutual friend, and
Hmm.
it was back in 2000 and leaving out of 18, going into 2019,
Okay.
and it was right around COVID. And so my mutual friend was talking to one of his friends, and my mutual friend was like, "Well, he's been asking if I had a friend." And I had told him yes. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, who is this friend? And she was like, well, you're going to laugh when I tell you. And I said, well, tell me, where he's, from. Because I'm thinking, he was from here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, well, he's from Ghana. And I was like, huh? I'm like, you talking to people across the water? And she was like, yes. And she was like, they're real nice guys. guys, things like that. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, well, it could hurt to, have someone different to, speak with and talk to.
Mhm.
So we had gotten together, we had talked, and instantly, like, we just clicked.
Mhm.
Just clicked. And, we talked and talked and talked and talked. I mean, we talked every day, non-stop.
Mhm. There was a connection.
There was a
Okay.
connection and a deep one. So we talked, and he was very sweet, and he treated me, like different than the guys would, here.
Mhm.
So, so that was 19. Going, I think, and that was the summer of 19 too. So COVID was at is very high, and
Mhm.
so all the borders and stuff had closed on our end, and they were closed on his end. And so my friend, she was like, when COVID is up or whatever, we'll go and we'll meet him. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little, kind of scared, to just go over there, abroad and not really know him.
Okay, because this friend knew him though. Okay, and
And
had you ever been abroad before at all?
no,
Okay.
I have not.
Okay. All right. Go
I
ahead.
have.
Mhm.
Okay, so we were just waiting and waiting and waiting, and the New Year came, 2020. Borders still closed, and we're still talking, and we're connecting even more, just deeper into our friendship, just very, very deeper. Okay, and so after 20 rolled around, the borders were still closed. And by that time, it's 2021.
Mhm.
And so he was like, I really like you. We've been talking. By that time, it was, 3 years.
Mhm.
And he was like, we've made a good connection. And by this time, my parents, know of him now.
Okay.
My parents know of him now. And, they connected with him, and we talked every day, FaceTime. I mean, we were stuck together like glue.
Okay. Let me
And
let
so,
me let me interrupt you 1 second. Did his parents
okay,
know about you?
yes.
Okay. All right.
His mom is no longer,
Okay.
but his dad knew. His
Okay.
dad, and I had met his sisters. I had met everybody on his end.
Okay. But at this time you had not, or at this time you had met them.
And this time I had, because it was 3 years in.
Okay.
It was 3 years in around this time when he met my mom, because we met 18 going into 19, so 19, 20, 21, the borders were still closed.
Okay. So wait. So you went there and then you came back.
No,
No.
we didn't go because the borders were closed between the U.S. and Ghana because of COVID.
So how did they meet? Like you mean like through an app, like talking, or?
Yeah, we talked like FaceTime,
Okay.
Messenger.
Okay.
That's how we communicate.
Okay. Got you.
And all that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they had met. I had met everybody, on his end, do video messaging.
Mhm.
And so, but like this time, it was 2021. And so he told me, he said, we've been 3 years in, because I'm thinking it was 3 years, between 18 and 21. Could have been longer, but I think the timing was 3 years.
Okay.
And so we had to got close, like close.
Mhm.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, this guy is charming. Like, I can see this guy being, my other half. Because we were just sunk in to each other.
Yes.
And I didn't see, like, at that time, no red flags. It was nothing.
Right.
It was nothing. And I knew that he had children. I knew that he had 2 kids.
Okay, so he had 2 kids. Okay.
He had 2 children.
Uh-huh.
He had 2 children. I had met them, FaceTime, everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Wow.
And I knew of those 2 kids because they was always constantly around him.
All right. Did those 2 children live with him?
No.
Okay.
They didn't live with him, but he spent much time with them.
Mhm.
Spent much time with them.
Okay.
And so, 21, he was like, I want to ask you something. And I was like, okay, what is it that you want to ask? And he was like, how would you feel about us getting married? And I was like, really? And he was like, yes. He was like, we've been talking to each other 3 years now, and we just instantly connected. And I was like, you know what, you are so right. And so I told my parents about it, and
Okay.
my parents, they was like, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I think it's okay. I said, I trust him enough, and know him well enough to, us get married.
Mhm.
And they was like, okay. They was like, if that's what you want to do, then do it. And, they told me about the whole, just be careful because, these kind of men do this and that and that and that. And I was like, no, he different, Mama. I was like, I don't see any, red flags.
Mhm.
3 years in, I didn't see anything. Like, this
Right.
guy was just amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Mhm.
So, 21, it got close to, I think, the winter time going into 22. The borders had opened. So, between Ghana and the U.S., everything was open. So, we was like, okay, we finna do it. We finna get married. So, the spring of 2022, we got married. We got married of
Okay.
2022.
All right. Okay. So it's 2022. You guys are married. So you, of course, you are on the continent. You're there in Ghana. And how was it? Like meeting his family, being on the motherland. Like what was it like? Take me to the day where you guys exchanged your vows. And what was it like?
Okay. So when we got there, it was in April, and everything was just perfect timing. I met his dad. He welcomed me in. We did a blessing ceremony. I met his sisters. I basically met everybody that I had seen.
Okay.
Everybody. They hugged me. We talked. My mom and his one of his aunts were close. They
Okay.
talked. I talked to his father, close, talk, everything. So
Mhm.
nothing was out of the ordinary at
Okay.
all.
Mhm. Okay.
At all.
So, take me to, you guys have done the blessing ceremony, and
Mm-hmm.
explain to the listeners what he said to you that instantly began the red flag.
So, what was a red flag to me was, he had went to sleep and nonstop. His phone, well, way before he went to sleep, I had noticed that, his phone was ringing and he'll just, not answer it.
Uh huh.
And of course, that's a red flag to any man in general, no matter if he's here or there.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Right. This is not a Ghanaian thing or African
yeah,
thing. This can happen to a woman anywhere. So we're definitely
uh
not
huh.
man bashing Ghanaian men or Africa at all.
Mhm.
We love the
Mhm.
continent. I know you love the continent as much as I do.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Yes.
So, his phone just kept ringing, and there was early part of that day, and this was like right after we had got married, like right after.
Right.
So,
You're still there,
phone,
of course. Right.
yes, I'm still there. I was there for like another week or so.
Mm-hmm.
So, phone ringing, didn't answer it, and so by this time, like we exhausted, we tired. I'm ready to go to bed. So
Right.
he goes to sleep. I mean, phone still buzzing. And I'm like, what is going on? And so he fell asleep. And most women will, because I'm very guilty, I got the phone.
Okay. You did the ultimate thing we are not to do. You did it.
Yes,
You picked up
yes,
that phone because something was going on and you were getting to feel some kind of way. So you picked the phone up.
to know. And but before I even got the phone, I was thinking, I was like, Megan, I was like, do you really want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
You just got married, do you want to do this? Do you
Mm-hmm.
want to get this phone, and do you want to see, what is happening? And I sat there and I was like, okay, I said, if I get this phone and I open it up, it's gonna be my, I wouldn't say my fault, but it's kind of like, you get what you're looking for.
That's right.
And so I was like, forget it. I'm about to look. So I got the phone and I was just scrolling, and it was people in the phone that he was asking to sleep with. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. And so I just kept scrolling. And of course, for me, I'm looking for names. I'm looking for names because the moment I see them names, I'm going straight to social media. Because I'm pulling, like, I want to know who this person is. Like, I want to put a face with these messages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, our names here in the U.S., if that's our name, then that's our name. Like, I can find
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But for them, for the women there, it may be their name, but not their birth given name. You get what I'm
Gotcha. I
saying?
do. Yes, absolutely. As myself, I go by my African name when that's not my legal government name. So I totally understand what you're saying. Yes. Okay.
So I seen a name and I was like, okay. And so like I instantly straight went to social media looking for the name, couldn't find it. So I left it alone because by this time I'm constantly seeing more and more and more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, someone was like, well, what are you gonna do about it?
Because you guys are freshly married, you're still on the continent with him. Yes. So this is fresh. We're talking within the first week this happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're talking about that night.
Okay. Take me to the picture. Take me to the tell the listeners about what he said to you. When you guys did the blessing ceremony, and what he said to you about the pictures, about not taking pictures.
Okay. So after everything happened, after we got married, he told me, he said, well, I know you excited that we just got married. He was like, well, but don't post pictures of us. And I was like, okay. And I got to wondering, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the blessing ceremony, like, everything was beautiful. Like,
right.
His dad blessed us and, praying for protection over us, over our marriage,
right.
all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that ceremony was beautiful. And my mom, she was in the ceremony as well.
Wow. Wow.
She was in the ceremony as well. But after the ceremony was the day before. The day before we got married. And so the day of us getting married, everything was over and we was going home. He was like, I know you're excited, but don't post pictures of us. So that was a red flag as well. But in that moment, I was on cloud 59. Like, none of that even registered.
Right. Right.
It never registered to why, he didn't want me to post pictures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I never just really thought about it then until everything just, started happening.
Okay. So we're at the point you guys you did the blessing ceremony, you've actually gotten married, you've got these red flags that are popping up immediately. Don't post any pictures of us on social media. And the phone is going off so much that it prompted your curiosity already. You went in that phone and you find out that he's asking other women to sleep with him. At this moment, these are major red flags. These are red flags where a lot of women would be like, take me to get this thing annulled real quick. But what prompted you? What did you do? I should ask you that. What did you do when you found the messages in the phone? Did you confront him or not?
So I did.
Okay, and what did he say?
I had to calm myself down because I was like, oh, I said, I'm in another country and I cannot look like I want to.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I understand.
I don't want to go to jail.
I understand.
So I got up, and he's the type of person where he sleeps really, really light. Mm-hmm. So when he noticed I wasn't there, he came looking for me. Mm-hmm. So he came looking for me, and that's when he noticed that, I was upset. And so after I told him what happened and what I saw, he said, well, someone else was using my phone.
Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. He said someone else was using my phone. And I was like, well, who was that person? And, why they're still texting you, like, even now? If that person, is not around. And he was like, well, I'll just call the person and tell them that, that person is texting. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, go ahead and call that person now while I'm sitting here. Because at this moment, I want to hear it.
That's right.
But he never did it. He
Okay.
never did it.
Okay. Okay.
He never did it.
All right. So you're still there. All these things are going on.
Hmm.
Tell me what happens next and how you're feeling and everything. This is honeymoon stage supposed to be. So tell me, do
Yeah.
you move past that and work past that in your feelings? You're trying to give this man the benefit of a doubt. What
Hmm.
happened next?
Okay, so I what I did was I went back to my vows immediately. Like I went back, and it was like, okay, he ain't your boyfriend now. Like you can't just break up with him.
Okay.
This is your husband. So now, you got to work these things out.
Mhm.
So I sat down and I talked to him, and I told him what I was gonna have and what I was not gonna have,
Mhm.
and we made up and everything was cool. It was cool all the way through, like all that week through,
Mhm.
up into me leaving. Everything was smooth after then.
Okay. So how long did you stay there when you went there to get married? How long were you on the continent with him?
So I stayed the whole month of April.
Okay.
I stayed the whole month because I took off from work because I wanted to stay and kind of, make sure things were finalized, just to be there.
Mhm. Mhm. So 30 days there, you in your head, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, this is my husband. I'm gonna give him the benefit of a doubt. I've had the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. We're moving past this. How was the rest of the remaining couple of weeks you were there? How did that work out?
Everything was just beautiful, like
Mm-hmm.
catered to me, hand and feet. Like it was good. Everything was
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
No more red flags. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he talked it out with the person while I wasn't around because
Got you.
still, yeah, so he still had to leave and go to work. So I was thinking, everything was cool because now I don't hear nothing else. Everything is quiet.
Yes. And where were you all living at when you went there? Where you were staying while you were there? He had a home
So
or
we stayed in his father's community, but
okay.
we had an Airbnb.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right. Well, take us to you are. What happened next? That started this thing to go ahead and start spiraling out of control.
Okay, so after everything, I get home. I'm back in the U.S. now.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in the lovey-dovey stage. Texting. And this is like 3 days after I get back home to the U.S.
Okay.
And um, one morning it was about maybe 2 a.m.
Okay.
And it's about I'm gonna say like 7 a.m. in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
I get messages from a person, and she was like inboxing and calling and calling and calling. But this is the twist. I have seen this person before.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I have remember seeing her face before, and I remember like way before we even got married. I had questioned him about this person,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing from what he told me between them. Now, when I questioned him, this was back in, I'm going to say like 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
When I questioned him about this person, and, I never heard anything else, never seen that person no more. Up until now, I'm getting inboxes from this person.
You're still getting inboxes from this person.
Yes, I had got my first inbox. Like this person had came encounter with me after I came back from Ghana.
Okay. And how long were you two actually married? Just we can just know how long did this last?
We was only married a year.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
We married a year. So, got married at 22,
Mm-hmm.
and got married in April 22. And then when I was getting those messages, it was maybe like 3 or 4 days after I had left Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 2 something my time, but it was way early that person's time. And she's inboxing and she's calling and calling and calling.
Okay.
Wanting to, ask me questions about her boyfriend.
Yes.
Huh? My boyfriend. And
Right.
I'm like, I ain't messing with nobody, boyfriend. Like, what you talking about?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So she said the person's name, and I was like, you mean my husband?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she goes, wow. So you mean not your boyfriend, your husband? And I said, yeah, my husband. And after that person just lost it.
Wow.
She lost it.
So I guess it's safe to assume that she felt that she was the girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She lost it, and she went in on me. Like she went in.
She goes in on the wife.
She goes in on the wife, honey. Yes.
Okay. So why did she feel that she could even go in on the wife? So tell me how that worked.
Okay, let me say this. I'ma say this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from me talking to my friends, because I have a lot of friends that on the continent.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of friends that married to, I'm gonna say, African men.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I'm not gonna just say Ghana in general, because
Right.
Africa goes way beyond that.
That's right.
And I friends way beyond that that's married to African men.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, and I don't want to step on any toes when I say it, but it has to be said. They don't like us coming there to marry their men.
Right. And I totally understand what you're saying, and I agree. I have some experiences with that as well. And when we say that, that is not saying every single Ghanaian or well, not Ghanaian, African woman feels that way, but it is a mass majority. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when she was going in, I was everything.
Mm-hmm.
You think because you're an American, you can come here and marry my boyfriend? This, that, and the other. Like, she literally went in on me like I was the problem.
Right.
Well, I was the problem for her because I was his wife.
That's right.
And so I was like, what's going on? I'm like, where did you even come from?
Right.
Because when I questioned him about you, he told me it was nothing.
Who did he say she was to him? He said, I know he said it was nothing. Did he just say, how did he classify her to you?
Okay, so he classified her as a nurse, as a friend that he knew because she was a nurse.
Got you.
And so by him doing the kind of work that he does,
got you.
Malaria, he'll get sick.
Right.
And so, he'll go to the doctor and, she'll possibly be there. And, he got to see her because if that's the place that she worked,
right.
So he just told me that she was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And I left it at that.
Okay.
I left it at that. Like, I didn't say anything else.
Right. Okay, so bring me into, of course you guys are now divorced, so bring us into some more things that happened and how we got to the point of where you are now as to actually have called this thing off and went ahead and filed for divorce.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom past now. Okay. I'm going to zoom past like maybe, I can say the early part of this year, like his attitude just started changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was always something with him, like always something. And I started catching on to these always something. I'm like, what is going on? And so I just had this eerie just feeling like every day. I just felt like it was something. And so what we do, or any woman that's close to God, we're going to pray about it.
That's right.
And I just asked God, I was like, God, I know it's something. I said, but I cannot put my finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, reveal to me like this, my husband's true intention.
Right.
So when that happened, I instantly felt better. But another couple of weeks or so, it'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, something is there, but I do not know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So our mutual friend started just telling me stuff, just like right off the bat. And I'm like, how do this person know? Not unless, it's, that's really what it is.
Uh-huh.
And so, because I've never told that mutual friend anything. Never told that person nothing.
Okay.
And so they just started spilling to me. And I was like, oh my God, like this is the same stuff that I was seeing, right?
Okay.
And so I just kept praying about it. Because now, like, the secrets and the things were starting to unfold.
That's right.
And so I just told God, I was like, look, God, I'm coming to you. If it's nothing, I said, then I'm just going to leave it alone.
That's right.
I said, but if it's something, please just make him uncomfortable to the point where he has to tell me.
Okay.
So, a week went past. And, I'm in the bathroom getting ready for work, and I just instantly stopped. And immediately, like, in my head, it was like, are you ready? Like, are you ready? You asked, so are you ready? And I'm like, okay. And he called me, and he was like, I got to talk to you about something. And I was like, okay. But he asked for, my people. And I was like, that's weird. Like, you've never done that before. Like, you've never done that before. And so he was like, but I want to, talk to them before I talk to you. And I was like, well, I'm your wife. Like, if there's anything going on, talk to me. And so he come out, and he finally talked to me. He was like, the number of kids that I told you is not true.
Wow. Okay. So he told you he had 2 children. What is the number of children that he actually has?
He told me when he said that the number of kids that he told me he had was 2. He said, but I have more than 2. And I was like, okay, well, how many you got? And he was like, 4. But my mutual friend told me it was a greater number than 4.
Wow.
So I already knew part of that because I was still getting information from that mutual friend. And so I was like, okay. And so I was like, so where did the number of kids come in? And he was like, well, you remember this day when I took you to go meet that person? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, that was my kid. And I was like, so you had me to go with you to meet this person.
Yes.
But that child that was with that person was your kid too.
So he went. Okay, let's unpack that. So he takes you by to see someone. So that those are his children, and the woman was actually his ex.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you're in the presence of them, not knowing that those are his children and his ex.
So I was in the presence of the woman that I knew was his ex, and I was in the presence of the little girl that I knew was his. But the other kid, I wasn't aware.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. Okay, so now he's admitting to 4, but he does not know that you have inside information that there's more than 4. Okay.
So at this point, I instantly felt a relief because I'm like, this is the feeling that I'm feeling.
Right.
But my mind kept saying, but there's more. And I'm like, okay, there's more. Now, this is the thing. So he had 2 kids that I had already knew. And then that was a possible that I had already knew about because that person inboxed me and was like, well, I'm pregnant. He's staying with me. See, my story got so many turns and crooks, and it's a lot.
Wow.
So that person was like, and he's staying with me. And this was in December, I think of December of 21, leading up to us getting married. but I blew that. I brushed it off because
Why? What made you brush that off? What was it about that made you?
He had me so like wrapped in, just wrapped in
Mm-hmm.
that I believed anything that he told me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was charming. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Mm-hmm.
charming. So
Mm-hmm.
he just had me just into him.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And any person that's gonna ride for their man or their husband gonna be like, girl, whatever, you just saying it because you jealous, because you know who I am, because that person knew who I was.
Mm-hmm.
She knew who I was.
That's right.
So, I was just wrapped in, just taking up for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, okay, well, if you pregnant, then, show me, I want to see everything. But
Okay.
she never showed me anything.
Okay.
Like, nothing ever came up, or she just never bothered to show me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him about it, and of course he denied it. And we just went on. We just went on by, our little happy little business.
Okay, because he denied it. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And so one day I checked this person's social media, and there's a baby. Mm-hmm. And there's a kid. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, maybe that's her niece, right? And I just, whatever. And I went looking for more pictures of this kid, but I never seen any more. Mm-hmm. Like, that was the only picture. And so I was like, maybe, whatever. So fast forwarding to now, my husband posted a picture of a kid. And I screenshot the picture because some mom was like, screenshot this picture. So I screenshot the picture and I started comparing. And I was like, I said, this baby look just like him. And of course, there's kids around anyway. Mm-hmm. Kids are playing in Ghana, they just out there.
Right.
So I thought maybe, it was a baby that was around, because the houses are very close. Everybody's just out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought it was a baby that was around him. And so I started looking. I was like, no, this ain't no random kid. Mm-hmm. And so I showed my mom. Now, this was like a month way before he even confessed anything. Mm-hmm. And so my mom started comparing. She was like, Megan, she was like, they do kind of look alike. Mm-hmm. And instantly in my heart and in my soul, I was like, this is his kid. Like, this is this baby that I see on this social media page.
Wow.
And he confessed to it.
Okay.
So when he was telling me about the number of kids, he confessed to that one.
Okay. So he confessed to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at this point, and how many children do you know him to have or believe him to have actually?
I believe him to have 8, but I've only counted 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so he is denying the other 3 to 4.
He is denying 1. He's denying 1. 2. Okay, I'm gonna say he's denying 1 of them possible, but he's not denying the other one.
Okay. So he's pretty much fessed up to everything about 1 of the possible, as if we're playing cards, right?
Right.
Okay. But this is life, and this is real life. It's your life and these children. So. Okay, so you found out about all these children. There has been multiple red flags that, any woman would have, a lot of women would have been like, okay, yeah, this ain't working. Mm-hmm. So, which is eventually where you got to, and we can't fault anybody into regards how long it takes us to get there. So, tell me, what was the breaking point? Because you were distraught, you and I have a little bit of a history. I didn't take you on as a client coaching, but I did some coaching with you and just, and being there for you. Tell me, what was that breaking point, that tipping point for you?
Okay, so the breaking point for me was, so my parents and my siblings, they wanted to at least establish some things on the continent.
Okay.
So we talked to him way before any of this stuff happened. Like maybe a couple of days like after I had made it back home, we were talking about like a house and businesses and things like that. So we were talking about that actually while I was in Ghana.
Okay.
And so we told him, we was like, we'll go purchase this, purchase that, and we'll just send you the money, and then we'll just get the receipts or whatnot. So she was like, yeah. So we sent money and all of that, and we made a few purchases. But when it came around to, actually seeing these things and receipts and stuff, it was just quiet, like cricket. And so now that everything, has started to come out, the money for all of that never got anything, never got nothing.
So you and your family were sending him money for land and things of that such, and you guys didn't get any receipts and no land?
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow. And so where did that money go?
So the money, he was taking it and he was giving it to the women that he was involved with.
And how do you know that to be true?
So I don't know if you know, but it's a statement that they get. It's almost like Cash App.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like we have like Cash App and
Yes.
PayPal? We get those statements. Those
Yes.
statements come through whatever. Okay, so him and I, we shared a email
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night, his statement just showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, let me just click in here. And I'm just scrolling and scrolling. I'm seeing like money. And I'm like, where is this money going? Like, where is this type of money?
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing at that moment that was our money. Not knowing at the time where I was scrolling.
Wow.
I didn't know that. And so I only had to put that together when we didn't get anything. And all the lump sum of money that he was sending the women that I seen on this statement.
Wow.
And
multiple women.
Multiple women. Some of the women that he had children with, I seen a new person on that statement because I had already recognized two of the names.
Mm-hmm.
And two of the names was his kid's mom.
Mm-hmm.
So granted, I'm going to give you that because I know you have to help your kids. But this other name, he was sending quite a bit. And I kept saying to myself, why am I seeing this person's name so much?
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing that it was one of his baby mamas as well. But I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Until every secret and everything started to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whew.
Started to come out.
That is a lot. It is a lot to unpack. Okay, so you've gone through the don't take a picture on one of the most important days of your life. You've gone through the entire women calling and that he apparently was still sleeping with right up until the time that you arrived on the continent. We've gone through him, of course, being very dishonest about that, and these babies, they just keep coming and coming and coming, which would mean that some of these children were conceived during you guys' relationship and during your marriage.
Yes.
Okay. Woo. Okay. And so now you are back here. How many times did you visit him on the continent during this marriage?
So when we got married, I went in April. Mm-hmm. I went again in June, and then I went again in December.
And so 3 times. Was he ever able to come here to the U.S.?
We was working on it. Mm-hmm. We was working
but he did not.
He did not.
Okay.
He did not.
Okay. Where in this journey did you get to the point of saying, I've had enough? We've got him taking money that you and your family gave him, and he's taking care of women and children, and all this stuff is going on. Where did you get to the point of where, I need to fix this?
Okay, so I got to the point where when I put things together about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, not only did you mess over me, like I could have took it, you know, if you would have messed over me and it was my money. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
But my parents,
Mm-hmm.
you know, these are my siblings. And my parents that was looking forward and had started putting plans together.
Oh.
You know, even his parents were putting things in place for all the little things and businesses that we can do in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was all of us planning like our next life, because we were thinking, okay, well, we finally, you know, finna get out the U.S. We finna just live it up.
Yes. So you guys' ultimate goal was to move to Africa. You wanted to go to the continent. And so
Yes.
did it seem like he was trying to come here, or was he, you know, how did that whole dynamic play out?
You know, what's funny, you know, when we first met, he was like, you know, I had no desire to come to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, okay, well, cool, you know. I was like, well, you know, if we're going to close the gap, like, somebody got to do something.
Right.
And he was like, you know, well, you can come here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay. And so I hadn't given much thought about it, because I started doing my research. And, of course, I was in other groups and stuff and just hearing stories, you know, like how long it takes or whatever, but how easy it was for us to go,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, well, you know, we'll just, you know, move, you know, to the continent.
Yes.
And so he was like, okay. But it's like the moment after we got married, like his desire to come here was off the chart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it was bad that he just had to get here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So he flipped immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So the big question is, do you feel that this was definitely a marriage of convenience for him to try to get to the U.S.?
Yes. Now that I go back and I think things over, yes. But I also think, you know, he had some type of love for me. I honestly think that he wasn't even in it, you know, he didn't think that his love for me would be how it was.
Mm-hmm. So the audience can the listeners can understand. So you feel that definitely, you know, sometimes, even though he was trying to get to the U.S. and there was definitely some, he wasn't being completely honest with you in the beginning, you still feel that somewhere along this journey he fell in love with you and that he really does love you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but he has these issues, and not that his children are issues because they're innocent, but he has definitely an issue with, you know, sleeping around and not being committed and not honoring his vows, because that's just who he was. Excuse me. And in that process, he's fallen in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So take us to the divorce.
So I had knew this person, and he was very well known. Mm-hmm. And I was, you know, I told him about it, and he was like, well, you know, I'm here in Ghana, and I kind of got a little bit of power to do or to help you.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so he was like, you know, by you being American, they're going to give you HELL.
Okay.
You know, because you married a Ghanaian. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me. But I've heard that before from other women.
Uh-huh.
You know, so I kind of knew that, and that was one of my biggest fears. And so he was like, you know, just kind of, you know, just follow me. And I'm like, okay, like, you got it like that. Like, okay. And so I did. And so he was like, you know, because normally it takes 2 or 3 years before you even get a divorce. It don't matter if you did file or whatnot. It takes that long.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So by me knowing him and him working his way through the courts, by him knowing that person, you know, that person, I was able to file. But the thing is, it was a fight because my ex-husband did not want to sign.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
He did not want to sign.
So let's talk about that. We got all this going on. He's living with another woman on the continent. Does not have his own place. He's staying with a woman, not his cousin, as he had said. We've got these children that keep popping up. He did come and tell you about a few of them. You know, we got this money issue. Explain to us, the audience, what is he saying about the money? And what is he saying about, because divorce is a divorce final?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you divorced him. What is he saying
Yes.
about that? Are you still in contact with him? And what are those conversations like?
Okay, so at the time when I confronted him about the money, he was like, well, when I kept asking him about the money, he just got real snobbish. Oh, you gonna get your money, or you will get your receipt? What you think I did? Spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I'm like, why would you say that? Now unless you did. And so that's when the light bulb just went off. And instantly I started making those connections of the people that we knew.
Okay.
Trying to find out. So after that, I got on to him about it. I knew the truth. And he started telling me reasons of why he used some of the money.
Okay.
Because he used some of the money, but he did in fact give the landowner half.
Okay.
But it was nearly what he was supposed to give.
Okay.
Nearly supposed to give. Now, anybody that knows how the currency works,
in
Ghana knows that the American dollar is very, very high. So he was walking around with like maybe 40,000 Ghana cedis.
Right.
So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. If you're there on the continent, that's a lot.
Right.
You got a pocket full of money.
Wow.
So, after he told me the reason why he had to use that additional, I was like, okay, whatever, just, all lies.
Right. So what was his reason? What were some of the reasons, a few of the reasons he gave you as to why he took why he took your money?
Right, why he take my money.
Right.
So, the reason was he had got into some trouble.
Okay.
And in Ghana, everything is the bribery is there.
I understand. In most African countries, yes, I understand.
Yeah. So if you got money, you can kind of like ease your way, out of certain things. So him having my money, that was his way out.
Okay.
But the way he put it, I was like, nah, because I knew someone that worked, in his line of work. And they was like, no, we ain't heard this.
Right. So it was so again, lies.
Lies.
Okay.
Lies.
Right.
So after that, I was about to just go in on him, court and everything. But my friends that's from America that's there was like, you might as well leave it alone, because the landowner, they figured that they were both tied together.
Oh gosh. Okay.
In getting my money.
Yeah.
So she was like, you might as well just
let it go.
Take that L. And just go on.
Okay.
So I had to take that L. Like I really did.
Right. So you connect with this guy, really, really nice guy. He helped you push this paperwork through and get your divorce. And so, what is Megan? What is your now ex-husband? What is he saying to you now that still has you engaged after all that you went through? I mean, all this betrayal, all the lies. He's still lying through, all the hurt, the pain. I know you were devastated. Okay, I was there with you, in sessions where you were devastated. What is it about this man that still has you where you're hanging on a cliff to me?
Okay, so meeting the guy, got a divorce, and the courts was like, just no nothing. But he's still intact with my mutual friend. And so he was just telling my mutual friend, just tell her, I'm sorry. I should have told her. And I'm a very tender-hearted person, so when a person apologizes, I think that, it could possibly, be sincere, it kind of pulls at me. And then I'm like, you know what? No, because if you love someone like you say that you love me, like, you would have never done that. You would have never done it. Like, you would have told me when you first met me. And he was like, well, I thought that you were going to do this and do that. And I said, well, you should have, don't make my mind up for me. Tell me. But now, like in this moment, we do not talk.
Okay, so the communication is now not
It's off.
talking. Yeah.
It's off. I had to
Mhm.
muscle up enough strength to like cut everybody off that was in connection between me and him.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just,
Okay, so yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. You go
Okay.
ahead. I'm done.
So what is your family? What did your family say about the whole thing? And then I want to know what his father said. I know you were in communication with his father at one point. So what did
Yeah.
your family think about this whole situation?
So my mom, like, she was crushed.
Yeah.
She was crushed. My sisters, she was crushed because she don't let a lot of people in.
Okay.
And she had suspicions, way before we even got married because she was
Okay.
one like, don't do it, don't do it,
Mhm.
don't do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But I
Yeah.
did it.
Mhm.
I did it.
Yes. Yeah.
And as far as his father, he's the type of, father figure to where I wouldn't say I fear, but he's so strong.
Okay.
He's one of those strong men to where
Mhm.
if you come to him, like you gotta come, like you gotta come and sit down and you gotta listen, but
Mhm.
also talk.
Mhm.
He is one of those men.
Mhm.
And I remember because I didn't want to call him. Like, I didn't want to call him. And so
Okay.
on an app that we have, it's called WhatsApp.
Okay. Mhm.
So it allows you to send like little voice clips.
Okay.
Like if you don't want to call him.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I sent him a voice clip.
Mhm.
And the moment those check marks turned blue, I got nervous.
Okay.
Because I knew that he was listening to my message.
Right.
He was listening to it. And he called me. I did not answer the phone.
Okay.
I have not even spoken to him
Mhm.
on the phone like how I'm talking to you.
Okay. Mhm.
I've not done that yet.
Okay. Mhm.
So we've talked in video clips.
Okay. And
But
what did he say about was he upset, crushed, denial, agreement with you? What is his thought process about his son and what happened to you?
He told me, he said, my daughter, he said, when I heard your message, he said, I nearly fainted.
Mm.
He said, because I told my son, when he married you, do not mess it up.
Mhm. Mhm.
He said, I told my son. He said
Yes.
he said, I cling to you because you are a good person.
Mhm.
And he said that I'm crushed. He said, I am crushed.
Betrayal is crushing, and it wasn't just betrayal to you.
Yeah.
It was betrayal to his family. It's betrayal to your
Yeah.
family, to himself, to the marriage, to the vows. Betrayal
Yeah.
is just crushing, right? It's
Yeah.
heart wrenching when we trust someone and then we're met with such devastation. Of you know, it's a
Mhm.
lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a.
I, this, you're not the only one that this has happened to, and unfortunately, you won't be the
Mhm.
last one that this happens to.
Mhm.
We all have a story, and,
Mhm.
I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. And, in saying all of that and unpacking all of this and sharing your story, thank you so much for sharing your story, first of all.
You're welcome.
But I want to ask you a few questions before we close this out. I want to turn this now to us, right? One thing I always
Mm.
tell people, I have a book on Amazon, Painfully
Mhm.
Purpose, and I do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of self evaluation. I'm all about us taking accountability for what
Mhm.
we could have done different, okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
And there was definitely a lot of red flags from the beginning,
It was.
And
It was.
so, looking at all of that and what you went through and where you are now, I personally can see that you are healing. I know you're a praying woman, so I see your healing. I see the
Mhm.
process that you're in, and I really commend you for that. But what has been the hardest challenge that you've had to overcome from all of this?
So the hardest challenge was, facing my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and for
Mm-hmm.
her to say, almost say, I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at the other women's stories and say in my mind at that moment, I was thinking, well, that's not gonna be me.
Ooh.
It was
Mhm.
me. It
Mhm.
was me.
Yeah.
And my hardest was, I should have gotten I should have got my divorce like before I left. Like I should have got my marriage annulled.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm
Yes,
so
I
glad to
was.
hear you say that. I'm so glad to hear you say that. We're going to touch on that in a minute. Absolutely. Yeah, when you look back over the whole thing, it was
Yeah.
definitely grounds from an annulment and saving
Mhm.
yourself from some of the stuff that you
Mhm.
went through. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Out of all of this, what is something that you won't do again? What?
I would not marry nobody and not be there. I'm there,
Yes.
and if I see those red flags, like I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
out.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm out.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
am out.
Yeah, yeah, and
But
not that we're
definitely.
not a fighter for our husbands, and I admire you saying that after all you went through and all the pain. That tells you the power of us women and the things that we put up with.
Mhm.
You were still willing to fight for this, but you have this.
Mhm.
You definitely have a winning spirit, and I want to talk about that in a minute. Okay,
Okay.
what do you want others to take away from this story?
Oh, I want others to just, be open.
Mm-hmm.
You wrapped up like me, so in love, like just keep your eyes wide open
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because he had me just reeled in,
Mm-hmm.
and those feelings that you have, like if you have that feeling that just won't go away,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
like I did,
Yes.
it's something there.
Yes.
Don't
Absolutely.
ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Absolutely.
ignore it. Do not.
Absolutely.
Do not. And that friend, that sis, because they call everybody sister over there.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
They call everybody sister. So
Mhm.
that friend that's a sister, oh baby, check into her.
Mhm. Mhm.
Check into that. Check into that.
Okay.
Check
Mhm.
into that.
Yeah.
And one tip that I'm gonna tell every woman. It doesn't matter what kind of marriage that you do. And I had to learn this.
Mhm.
Know who is sitting in that courtroom with y'all.
Mm.
Know
Mm.
who's sitting in there
Mm.
because it can be some woman that don't want y'all to get married.
Mhm.
Because when the courtroom is open, it's open. Like
Mhm.
anybody can walk in. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like anybody can come in.
Mhm.
So check your scenery. Know
Okay.
who is sitting in there at that moment in time that you are getting married. And I know you're going to be on cloud 59, but just peep your surroundings.
Mhm.
Peep your
Mhm.
surroundings. Because honestly, now I feel like one of the women that he knew could have been sitting in on our marriage
Mhm.
ceremony.
Mhm. almost
And
as almost as if it was kind of maybe in cahoots with this whole thing, like new.
uh-huh.
Wow, I've heard that before. I say that because I've heard that from another person that I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking with, that the woman was in cahoots because they was trying to get his citizenship, and so she knew the whole situation and what was going on in agreement with it. So that's a whole nother individual that I'm talking to. So yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Wow.
yes. So
Wow. Wow.
know your scenery.
Mhm.
If you get married, make sure it's in his hometown.
Mhm.
I'm giving you ladies gems because
Yeah.
I've been through it. Get
Yeah.
married in his hometown and make him put up that, I think it's like a 30-day statement,
Mhm.
where if you put that statement up in his hometown, like it's out there in the public, so everybody knows
Mhm.
that he's getting married.
Wow, I
Do
didn't
I
know
think?
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Do I think my husband did that, or let me say ex-husband?
Mhm.
No, I don't think he did it.
Wow.
I don't think he did it because
Wow.
had he done that, then
Mhm.
everyone would have known
Yeah.
that he was getting married. Do I think he did it? No,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially by
no.
him not asking you immediately not to post pictures, so he was being very secretive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I want to talk to you about the winning spirit because that's something that I'm really passionate about. And again, it's in a
Mm-hmm.
book that I have out that's on Amazon. But the winning spirit is when we have to win at all cost. And
Mm-hmm.
you had to win at all costs,
Yes.
right? Because you got these
Yes.
red flags immediately. So we, especially as women, we ignore every red flag because we have to
Mhm.
prove to the other woman, to the other wife, that he desires us most, right? And so I too was that woman. I just had to win, right? When actually what we're attempting, what are we attempting to win? Like what are we getting? When you really
Right.
think about it, we're not winning. We're not getting anything, right? We're getting a cheater, a scammer, a deadbeat, a narcissist, like a manipulator, a con artist. That list could go on and on and on. So it's,
Yes.
you're getting someone that's incapable of loving you properly. So, all those things, if we finally win this individual that we're trying to win. And not only women have the winning spirit, but I'm talking to women today. I'm talking to you. So, but in a scenario like this, we all lose, right? So what I would
Yes.
say to myself and to every other woman or man that is listening is that we have to do the work in discovering how and why we have taken on this winning spirit. And doing that work, it's going to bring about a healing in that area for you. I myself, speaking of me, my winning spirit came from my childhood. I had a very overbearing parent, right? And that overbearing parent always made me feel that I was never good enough. So I developed this spirit where I had to win in everything. And that winning in everything turned into relationships too. So I've been in relationships like you, and I've been in a marriage that I had to end where I had this winning spirit, and the person was not worth me winning. Okay.
Right. Right.
Um, so, it's a lot of work. I had to do a lot of self work. I had to go all the way back and dig through those layers of my childhood and all that stuff to figure out what exactly, why do I do this? Why do I go to the extreme for somebody that won't go to the extreme for me? Well, why am I trying to hold on and not go through this embarrassment when really I'm embarrassed because everybody knows what I'm going through, in this marriage that's not working, right? Or in this relationship. Again, this winning spirit can show up in different areas of your life, but it's so important to identify it and to do that work. So I'm definitely going to gift you one of my books. Okay, I'll get your address after this and I'm going to send you that book. Yeah, to work in there. But I'm just so proud of you and where you are. To go ahead and close this out, I want to ask you, and this is so important for women listening because, again, like you and I both said, we are not bashing the continent. We love Africa, right? You have a lot of great projects going on in Africa, and I'll give you a minute to do a shout out about that. You have a desire to go and live on the continent. I do too. It's likewise. I have a great Ghanaian man in my life that I love very much. So we're not bashing Ghanaian men. We're not bashing the continent or Africa or anything like that. This happens in the U.S. every day, right? But we're telling your story, and this is your story. And this is not just happening to you. It is happening to other women, right? So what I want to ask you is, do you still believe in love? And if so, what motivates you to still believe or not?
So, yes, I do. I do. Still believe in love.
Yeah.
I grew up in a, 2-parent household.
Okay.
So I've seen how they love and they care for each other, even still now. So I want that.
Yes.
I want that desire.
That's good.
I'm not saying like my mom or my dad, but I want something similar to that.
Absolutely.
And I know that I can have it. This was a bad timing. It wasn't it.
Yeah, it wasn't it. Right.
It wasn't it.
Right.
So my person is out there.
That's right.
Have, be mindful, not rush. Don't take any baggage, any feelings. I can't bring that along with me.
That's right. This was an experience. You've experienced it. You're learning from it. You're growing. You're healing. But the next person that you meet, you can't take any of this into that relationship, that marriage, or what have you. Now you've learned, to keep your eyes open. You've learned to move cautiously, but definitely not taking that with you. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear you say that. In closing, speak a little bit about what you have going on over on the continent.
Okay, so I have a lot going on. I'm all over the place, but I do have a foundation.
Okay.
And we help the younger girls. We're in the planning of helping the women there in Ghana, but we work really, really close with the youth.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter from education to jobs, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are totally hardcore
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Okay.
I'm very big on education because I am an educator.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm very, very heavy on that. And then I'm also in the opening stages of doing a school.
Okay. Okay.
In Ghana.
All
So
right.
I'm deeply involved.
Well, that's good. That's good. All right. So, in closing, is there anything else that you would like the listeners to know? Again, I thank you for doing this interview with RBR Real Talk. It's Robert Real. And I am just so proud of how you are moving along. I know it was not easy to get to the place that you're at, but I definitely see that you are doing the work, and I'm really happy to have had this time with you.
Yes, yes. No, I think I got everything I said. I'm glad that, I was able to share my story.
Okay.
Because someone will probably have a similar story to how mine is. So I just want you guys to be careful,
Yes.
but still just be open to love.
Yes.
Be open to love and be open to going to Ghana or any African, country.
Yes, yes, I'm excited.
It's a beautiful country.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. I will be over there in very shortly, very soon. So
Yes.
I'm super excited about that, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with RBR Real Talk. It's Robert Real. I am Dr. Ajra Yara, and we thank you so much, Megan, for being here today and sharing your story with us.
You are welcome, and thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. You are welcome. All right, guys. Until next time, this is RBR Real Talk. It's Robert Real. I am Dr. Ajra Yara. I am living my life and loving the life I live and living the life that I love by design. You guys have a good night. Good night.